Hey y'all, I am James Wright and welcome to my shop, and I need to go grab something quick. Hey y'all, I am James Wright and welcome to my shop. I've had a lot of people asking me about my finishing process. A lot of times in the videos I'll say, and I apply a boiled linseed oil and paste wax finish. And that's about all I say in the video. And kind of sorry about that, but I've been meaning for a while to talk about what I actually do because I really don't want to repeat this in every single video. So yeah, let's kind of get into it. Basically, my method, my preferred method for most things that I handle, I like to feel the wood. I like to feel the texture, the grain. I don't like things to be perfectly smoothed and varnished. I want to feel it. So I kind of stay away from most polys and varnishes and things like that because I prefer to feel it. Now, on things that get a lot of wear, furniture in the house, like the coffee table that I made a while ago, I put a poly finish on that because it actually puts a coating on top that will protect the wood. The paste wax will protect the wood a little bit, but really not that much. So for my hand tools in the shop and the things that I actually handle and feel very often, I like to leave that porous surface. I like the polished, the paste wax finish. I don't want it to be polished. So basically, the things that I generally use is number one, boiled linseed oil. Now, this is going to get a lot of people into trouble. In my videos, you'll often see me doing it with my bare hands. And that's because I get this from a guy who makes his own. And this is raw linseed oil that has been distilled down into a boiled linseed oil. And it doesn't have any drying agents in there or other chemicals. So it's safe to use with your hands, and it smells fantastic. Or at least I think it smells fantastic. Now, if you go to the store, you're going to find boiled linseed oil. Sounds like the exact same thing, but it's not. In the finish, in the way it works, and all of its functionality, it's identical. I can't tell the difference. The difference is that this has chemicals in it and drying agents that you really don't want to get on your hands. So if you're going to go to the store and get boiled linseed oil, you can do the exact same thing. Just make sure you have gloves on. Yeah, this isn't as friendly. So that's why I am lucky enough to find someone who makes it themselves. Now, I've thought about doing a video about making boiled linseed oil, but it is a very, very, very dangerous process. And if you get it wrong, you will have a fire on your hand. And I have a friend who has the equipment and things set up to do it correctly, and he does it that way. Sometime in the future, I might do a video on it, but I don't know if I really want to take on the liability yet of making your own boiled linseed oil. So for right now, don't try this at home. Don't make your own. I do not suggest it. It is very dangerous. Then the next thing I say is paste wax. Now this is the generic mid-wax paste wax, and it works great. I really don't have any problems with it. I kind of like it. It's cheap. Everyone can get their hands on it. I kind of like this stuff. And a jar like this will last me probably a good 9 months to a year. So it's a good amount of wax. You can make your own. Basically, this is just beeswax melted down with some other oil, whether that be tung oil or a linseed oil, other things like that. And it just kind of makes it soft enough so you can work it in. And basically, the way this works is you rub it onto the surface, and it is liquid enough either by the heat of your friction or by it just being generally liquid in a contained environment. And then it will set over time and harden back up. As the oil gets out of the wax, it will harden into a harder surface that you get like the beeswax. And so you do get a little bit of a finish on there, but because it's in the pores, you don't feel it as much. And so that's why I like a paste wax finish. Another thing that I've used several times is feed and wax. You can get this at most of the big box stores, and it's made with beeswax and orange oil. I really like this stuff. It's not what I use as my initial finish, but one of the problems with boiled linseed oil and a paste wax finish is you need to reapply it occasionally. And so rather than reapplying the paste wax every 9 months to a year, I often like to just rub down a little bit of this and just kind of keep it on my hands. I really like the way it smells, and it just keeps the wood texture supple. And so occasionally, like every 6 months or so, I'll go through my shop, and most of my wooden tools, I'll just give it a quick rub down with this. And I love this stuff, so that's very useful. So onto the surface itself. This is some red oak and fairly standard stuff. But I like oak because you can kind of see the finish on it. Now you may have heard that pop when I cracked it open. That's because it does condense over time, especially with how the temperatures change. It gives it a good seal. You'll also know that there's a lot of dried crud around here. When you do let it dry, it does get kind of pilly on you. So I basically just stick my fingers in and wipe it down. Now if you're using the boiled linseed oil from the store, use gloves. But for this instance, I'm just going to put it over here. And basically all I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it on thick and heavy, just like that. And I'm going to leave it, I'm going to come back in about 15 minutes and probably apply another coat. And I will let it soak in until I start to see that it's no longer soaking into the wood and it's just sitting on top. And that's how I know it has absorbed enough. And already you can start to see some dry spots where it is starting to absorb and almost getting dry into the wood. I don't know if you can see it in the reflection there, but it's soaking it up pretty fast. Now I put down 3 coats on this so far, waiting about 15 minutes in between each coat. And most of the time I'll do that, or I might do a few more. It depends if it's going to be a tool that I'm using a lot. I might not put as much on there just because I'm going to be handling it and my hand oils will get into it. But for this sake, I'm just going to kind of show you my average tool, like my chisel rack. I put on 3 coats, let them dry in, and then I come back with a rag and just kind of wipe the surface down. Get rid of the boiled linseed oil. Now you do want to be careful with rags that have these on there. If you wad them up and throw them in the trash can, they do have a tendency to combust because they will generate a little bit of heat, and if enough of that heat gets up, then the cloth will actually light on fire. I will lay it out flat on the concrete floor and just let it dry, or I will put it in a jar of water just to make sure. But then I'll come through with my paste wax and I just kind of work it out onto my fingers and smear it into the surface. And I want to kind of leave it thick and heavy right now, so that there's a solid surface of liquid wax on top of it. And I'm just trying to kind of rub it in with my hand, create a little bit of friction with my hand. Sometimes I'll use a little bit of steel wool, although I just kind of like using my hand, it's a little faster. And I just work it into the grain as best as I can. And I'll let that sit for a little bit. So then after letting it sit just basically for about 5 minutes or so, I will come in with my fingers and wipe off as much as I can. And I'll just kind of try to dry out the surface with my hand. I don't use a towel because I don't want to pull off too much while it's still wet. But I want to make sure that the wax stays in the pores. I don't want to pull it out of the pores. And I'm going to let this sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. I don't want to let this sit for like more than an hour, otherwise it might actually get hard and become difficult to buff. But it's not going to be a huge issue, it just takes a little bit more elbow grease then. Now sometimes if I'm actually in a rush, I will skip that last where I'm trying to take it off with my hand and just leave it on there for like 30 or 40 minutes, maybe as much as an hour, because the thicker the surface is, the longer it will take to dry. And you're basically just going until it feels like, well, like beeswax on top, and it's dried out most of it, and any of the rest of the oil has kind of seeped into the wood or evaporated. And then I'll come in with an old sock and buff it. And the sock does 2 things. Number 1, it picks up a little bit of the excess that's on there. But number 2, it kind of buffs everything smooth and makes sure that you get a nice sheen on it. Now this is not going to give you a reflective finished surface like you're expecting with most polys and lacquers. This is actually just going to give you the tone of the wood, and it's going to fill all those pores so that you're not getting dirt and junk into it. And that's why I kind of like it. You still get to feel the grain, you get to feel the wood, and it doesn't look like much is on there. I like that for the tools that I'm going to be handling. I don't like that as much for furniture and things like that. So just to reiterate, boiled linseed oil or tung oil or other oils like that, they're not going to give you a film protective finish or that shiny finish that you're expecting. They're going to give you a nice clean looking finish. Now there are other ways of rubbing it out that you can use. That some people use, like this thing that looks like a little broom that you can actually get a really nice shine on it with your waxes, but that's not for me. I like it for the things that I handle a lot, like my planes that I make, my mallets, anything with a wooden handle. I absolutely love this finish on it. It feels good in my hand, especially for the plain handles. This is the finish I really like for that. For furniture and other things like that, they're going to get a lot of use and a lot of rubbing on them. Yeah, I don't. That's not what this is for. That's for your polys and things of that nature. So, this is what I like to use. So, whenever you hear me say I use a boiled linseed oil and paste wax finish, it's just a few coats of this to let it soak into the wood. And let the wood take up as much oil as it's going to take, and then throw some paste wax on top, let it kind of harden, and then buff it out, and you get a really nice finish that looks decent, but also gives you that a little bit of durability from the dirt, but you can feel the wood, and it's something that is good in your hand. So I hope you like this video. It was one I've been wanting to do for a while, and I hope I did it justice. But if you still have questions, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your questions, and who knows, I might end up doing another video on other types of finishes. If you did like this video, feel free to check out one of my others. You might find something there you like. I want to say a huge thank you to the patrons on Patreon. One of the reasons why I put this video out this time is one of the patrons asked me about it, and so it kind of gave me the push to put the video out here. So thank you for that push, and hopefully we'll be seeing some other videos from some things that they've suggested. So if you want to get in on that group, feel free to check out my Patreon page, and there's a lot of fun things going on there. I try to put a lot of behind the scenes videos and pictures and things like that in there, and show some other things in the shop that other people don't get to see. If you did like the video, please hit like and think about subscribing. And until next time, have a wonderful day.